His new voice is a little too... What? Why is there a Unreal Engine textured Goku? There's nothing quite else like this in the game. All the other cutscenes are fairly normal. This one, though, when you go to check to see if Gohan's in that pod, because that's how the story starts off with Dragon Ball Z, instead of finding Gohan, you find this untextured Goku. But why does he have a checker pattern? Because this game's engine is Unreal Engine, and whenever there's something that's untextured in Unreal Engine, it tends to be the case that you find the default Unreal Engine texture, which looks a lot like this. Because we're gonna have to push aside Ultra Instinct Goku for Untextured Goku as the ultimate form. And yeah, we got that and many more on an ongoing series where we basically take the camera anywhere we want to try to find secrets and new discoveries to some of our favorite games. And today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. This camera was provided by Franz Buoma. You can absolutely check out his stuff in the video description down below. So with that said, let's show you all the different oddities and weird things that I found with the character models and the environments. So every once in a while you're going through these character paths, your character goes into the first person. And I was really surprised by this because if you are in first person, whether it be that you switch to first person or you're picking a route like you're doing here in this clip, you don't ever actually get to look down and see your own body. So I was a bit surprised to find out when you take the camera out that the body is in fact there, and what they did was they just completely removed the character's head so that all that's left is a gaping neck. And I don't have much to say other than it reminds me of a certain South Park episode. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, do not look it up. Trust me, it's not a good idea. And now for one of the best discoveries, we have to go inside of Nappa's nipple. If we do that, we can find out that there is a cube inside of his body. Now, what is the reason behind this cube? It's the same reason that there's a cube inside of every character's body. Yes, I said that right. Every single character in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has a cube inside, and it seems that this is tied to the skin, because some of the cubes have scuff marks on each side of the cube, which may be tied to the coating that applies the battle damage to certain character models. A lot of these cubes are stored inside of the pelvic region of the characters, and sometimes there's characters that have 2 cubes, and sometimes there's characters that have distorted cubes inside of them. But a big thank you to Nappa's nipple so that we know now that there are cubes inside of every single character. Next up is the announcer for the tournament, and his sunglasses are almost always on his face. If you take the camera past his sunglasses though, you can actually see that his eyes do appear underneath his sunglasses. And he has brown eyes apparently. This is something that I was definitely not expecting to see. In fact, there was a point in time where I looked at King Kai's sunglasses because I've always wanted to know if King Kai had eyes underneath those sunglasses, and no, there was nothing there. So to see it here with the announcer, very, very surprised. And honestly, I would love to see some extracted models from this game because there's another one here, Top, and taking the camera inside of his giant mustache will show you that he has a fully modeled face underneath. Now, yes, at certain points in the game, you can see that there is an existence of a mouth while he's doing like ultimate attacks and stuff like that. But still, it's really surprising that the entirety of his face could be shown if we could just remove that mustache. Hopefully we get some dedicated players on that soon, because then we have another example of this with Lord Zeno. If you take the camera inside Lord Zeno's outfit, you can see an entire upper body that is completely unused. And I'll just keep reiterating here, if there was a way to extract the model, we could delete all the geometry that is the purple and white part of the outfit just to show you what it would look like without it. The only thing that's really missing is the belly button area of Lord Zeno. Everything else, including his legs, butt, whatever, it's all there. And although there are alternate outfits for Master Roshi, it's interesting to note that his eyes are always modeled underneath his sunglasses as well. I am aware that you can remove his sunglasses in the character customizer though. And there's one more model that is a little bit risque, can't show it on YouTube, but of course if you want to join the Patreon temporarily just to check it out. Anyways, moving on to more, a lot of the characters actually have fully modeled heads. Some of them are really hard to see because like Vegeta, for example, just has a whole bunch of different objects sticking into his skull, but a character like Jace over here has a giant poofy haircut, so when you take the camera inside of his giant poofy hair, you can easily see his cranium. Now we're gonna have a lot to talk about with this level select area, but we're gonna keep the scale small for now by going into one particular area. This was a level that's supposed to be the city level, and as a small little effect, they have cars, they have traffic that you can see off in the distance. Now, if we take the camera all the way up to it, you can see there's a lot of detail to the textures and everything that you would never expect to see for something that's scaled so far away from the player's view. But not only that, we can see what happens to the cars when they go off screen. What they're actually doing is going inside of these buildings and then shrinking down to the point where you can't see them anymore so that they can spawn on the opposite side. And don't even get me freaking started with Capsule Corp. If you take the camera inside of the bottom floor, which the characters typically hang out on like the second floor balcony, you can see that there's a whole information desk with the logo of Capsule Corp. And of course, if we take the camera up to the second floor where the characters are, and then take the camera through the doors that the characters stand in front of, we can see all sorts of crazy details, like vending machines that say happy hour drink, Boo coffee with 3 U's for Boo. And then Karen X Capsule Corp, which clearly is run by Corin the cat due to his silhouette being on the front of the machine. And then there's the cutscene with Cell that's about to explode, and you can see how it works when Goku transports Cell to King Kai's planet. The planet is actually underneath Earth and then housed inside of a sky dome. And then I want to take the camera inside of the Kame House, and I know that you can take the camera inside and you can see the TV and all that stuff, but it beelines straight for the TV, and I just wanted to move the camera around and show you more of the Kame House. I think a lot of you, of course, want to see if there's any upstairs to the Kame House, and so we're going to take the camera upstairs into the Kame House and find out that there is no upstairs to the Kame House. Yeah, I was saying Kame House on purpose a lot. Sorry if that bit was annoying. But one other thing I wanted to mention, too, is that if you take the camera through the window that's at the top floor, you can see that there's a little bit of modeling inside, but not enough to make a convincing second floor of the house. And if you're wondering about Master Roshi's magazine, I did take the camera into the inside pages and they are left blank. The developers had no interest in having a secret little Easter egg for what Master Roshi was actually looking at. Though, funny enough, since the pages do get used, there are inside pages to the car magazine. Now, people that go from the title screen to one of the main menu options will know that the entire universe kind of sucks into the planet, and then you see this transitional effect where you're going through the atmosphere, and then you come out the other side to whichever environment you're supposed to be at, which is usually Capsule Corp. I think it's always Capsule Corp, actually. So anyways, if you pull the camera outward during this scene, you can see how this all works. Apparently, the universe just sort of unloads immediately, and then you're just inside of a sky dome that has the effect for the transitioning, and then after that, the sky dome sort of dissipates into the loaded in environment, which is Capsule Corp. Now here's one of the weirder things I found in this game. Apparently, all the planets that are in the title screen, as well as a lot of planets that are in the game itself, if you take the camera inside the planet, you'll find a dev planet, an untextured or an Unreal Engine textured sphere that is inside of all these planets. I will guess that there's a dev function attached to all these spheres inside of these planets. Again, I just never see anything quite like this while looking inside of planets on Boundary Break. Sometimes, in very rare instances, maybe a cube, but it's usually rare, and it's not usually every single sphere that I found in a game. So this is definitely different. And now we can start talking about more weird dev objects. Like, for example, in this cutscene with the Grand Minister and Lord Zeno. Outside of the fact that Lord Zeno is not standing on anything, despite the fact there is a platform right next to Lord Zeno, that's not the focus of this clip. Instead, there's just this random cylinder that is just hanging out above the ground. Why it's there? Well, this whole section of the game is going to be really hard to tell you what the reason is for all these different things. But another thing I'll show you is that in every single environment in this game, just below the environment, there is a singular wall at any given time. It doesn't matter what level, it doesn't matter when you choose the level, there will always be a singular wall down here that's usually textured to the environment that it's housed in. And this is insane, guys. So as you know, they use stills or tiny little video clips during this part of the game to sort of recap people without doing full-on cutscenes. But taking the camera out will show you that all those images that are shown in the background are real legitimate images. And there's even a spot for all the different cutscenes of the game, and you can see them in motion here, even if they are a little bit faster than they're supposed to be. And then I wanted to show you the crowd for the tournament arena because it's really cool. There's only a small handful of different characters here, and then what they do is they change the colors of the hair and the clothing to each individual character to give it a real standout crowd. The quality of the animations and textures is much higher than you normally see in a stadium crowd in a video game, which to me stands as a benchmark for how far we've come with video game technology, frankly. And if anybody ever attacks the crowd in the game, the crowd actually leaves the arena, and there is a special animation for all the people in the crowd leaving the arena. Now, the way the characters look here are way different looking. They have a very strange sort of like almost like mobile game look aesthetic to them. Very different from the characters we just saw a second ago. I told you we'd come back to this. So this is the level select screen of the game where you do the story mode. And if you pan the camera out, you can see that surprisingly, all the environments are loaded in all at once. That's a lot of individual detail that, again, you don't normally see in a video game. Usually there's a heavy amount of culling involved. That saves on resources so that the frame rate doesn't drop. But here, that's not really what they do. Yes, there's a little bit of level of detail that sort of happens when you pull the camera back, but as you can kind of see, all the different environments do maintain a lot of their detail here. And it does cause a little bit of a slowdown when you look at it all. I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked. And then let's do a zoom out of Lord Zeno's kingdom, because when you do, you can see that it's actually in a sky dome housed inside of another sky dome. I have to say, visually speaking, this is like some never-ending story type stuff, which honestly, when that happens, it makes the zoom outs on the show kind of fun. Then I wanted to look around in Mr. Satan's environment for the title screen, and it looks pretty cool. There's a lot of different details here that are pretty hard to see. But also pan the camera out can show you that the floor for the environment sticks out well past the actual building, and there's an exterior to the building as well. Well, it's not necessarily an exterior, but it's modeled on both sides. Also, for the first menu screen of the game, there's a lot more to the environment than you would think, but what's really, really weird is that on the edges of this map, you can see sort of like a sampling of all the different types of sidewalks and bricks and everything that this environment would house. Now, this is not how it looks when you actually load up the map in an arena, for example, but all the textures for that arena are ever present here. It's just weird that they have like sort of like a uniformed design where they all kind of cohabitate together. And here's a fun little trick with animation. If you freeze the game while the character is doing like a whole bunch of flurry of punches, for example, like right here, you can see that the character model actually has all those individual fists and forearms all in the screen all at once, and you can obviously move the camera around and see that there are multiple fists instead of it just being a blur or smear animation. And although it's not as exaggerated as Dragon Ball FighterZ, which, you know, here's a clip of that right here to show you how exaggerated it can get, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero does a little bit of this as well with its animations. For the most part, guys, the amazing animations for the special attacks are all just done with camera positioning and not manipulating the character models. But like you're seeing here with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, they enlarged the arm a little bit here, giving him a Popeye effect, just to give it a little bit more of a convincing shot for that dynamic angle. And that's it. If you wanted to see more from that Dragon Ball Z FighterZ episode, got a link to it in the video description as well as on the screen here. Of course, if you want to see that exclusive content that I can't share here on YouTube, I got the Patreon also on the screen and in the video description. You can also see the entire back catalog of Not Safe for Work fightings with that one-time membership. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hit you again with another episode real soon. Thank you so much. Take care.